Watch this guide to get better Darius.
They will regret opposing me.
Now, this guy is going to be made by a challenger player in cooperation with an OTP Darius player. That's named Rhoku, who's a Grandmaster Darius OTP with over 2 million mastery points. Let's get into the runes. So on Darius you want to start with Conqueror, then you go Triumph, afterwards you go Alacrity or Tenacity. You really want to have attack speed and need that on Darius, so Alacrity is much better unless you really need to have Tenacity because they have so much CC on the enemy team and it's absolutely necessary. If it's not necessary, don't go Tenacity. And then the last one, you go Last Stand. For the second tree we have Resolve, where you want to go Demolish so you can take turrets much faster once you dominate your opponent, and then secondary you take Bone Plating or Second Wind depending on how much poke the enemy top laner have. For example, if you're against the Jace you want to have Second Wind, and if you're against the Jax you want to have Bone Plating because he's always going to proc multiple hits and you can just do damage to him meanwhile. Now let's talk item builds. On Darius you have two main item builds. The first one is Cleaver into full tank, and then you have the second one which is Trinity Force into full tanks. Let's talk about the Cleaver first. So you go Cleaver, then you go Steric's Gauge. After that, you have to figure out if you want armor or magic resist. Once you figure that out, let's take magic resist for example. You can go Spirit Visage or Adaptive Helm. Adaptive Helm is only against Malzahar or Cassiopeia and the likes of those. Else Spirit Visage is always better. And then if you want to go for the armor route, you have Deadman's Plate and Randon's Omen. Now, Deadman's Plate is amazing in Darius because you want movement speed. You want to be able to catch up to people because you don't have gap closers. And that's one of his biggest weaknesses. So building a Deadman's Plate is generally the better one. However, sometimes you need the slow from randoms, or you need to be able to take less damage from crits because the enemy team have a lot of crit champions. And randoms just brings a lot of value in that case. So you have to figure out yourself what you really need in your specific game. The second item build is Trinity Force into Steric's Gauge into the same items. Now the difference between these builds is that Trinity Force is if you're winning your lane against squishies, and if you are dominating the game and you're totally fed and you're trying to take over the game as solo carry, then Trinity Force is an amazing choice. The second choice, the Black Cleaver build, is better for if you're behind, if you're against tanks, or if you want to focus more on team fights and you think your team is doing really well but you're not doing so well, and then you can help them out by being a little bit tankier and applying the Black Cleaver passive, which is amazing if you have an AD damage based team. Now it's time to talk about Darius' abilities. His passive is one of the core abilities of his entire kit. It's a damage over time ability that applies every single time you damage an opponent with either auto attacks or your abilities. It ends up doing a tremendous amount of damage, and it also works with his ultimate, which is really cool. But we'll get into that later. Darius' Q ability. When you use it, you get a massive circle around you, and if you hit the enemies in the outer circle, you apply your passive, and you heal, and you do a ton of damage. If they're in the inner circle, they take less damage, and you also don't apply the passive or heal. Therefore, you want to really try and aim your Q ability and hit it in the outer circle every single time you can. And you want to combine it with potentially your W to slow them down so they can't get out of it. Darius' W Crippling Strike. The main important thing about this ability is that it's an auto attack reset. So you can use an auto attack and then you can use W and it resets your auto attack so you instantly use it. It also increases your range by 25 and it slows the opponent after you use it, which means you can combine it with your Q to get an easy hit on the Q afterwards. If you kill your target with Crippling Strike, it refunds its mana and half of its cooldown, so you can actually also use it to CS sometimes if you really need to cast a cannon minion or another CS that's important to you. Darius' third ability, Apprehend, the E ability. The E ability pulls people in and also slows them by 40% for 1 second. Now one thing to note is that the E ability is actually quite short, and often you're going to try and use it and you're not going to reach the opponent, so make sure you're in range while using this ability. It's an issue that I've had a lot when I play Darius myself, and I'm challenger, so I mean you guys might have the issue too. I don't know if you guys are perfect and I'm not, but some people might run into that issue. Darius' last ability, his ultimate. His ultimate is his finishing move. If you manage to kill people with the ultimate, it resets its cooldown and you can now use it on other targets. If you're fighting against 2 people, you can actually use your ultimate on 2 people instantly. Now the thing you have to note on the ultimate is it scales based on your passive stacks. So for every single stack you have, it scales by 20% up to a total of 100% more damage, which means it's going to be an amazing finishing move and you want to use it for that. Alright, let's talk about Darius' abilities. On Darius you start with Q, then you level E second, and afterwards you level your W. And that's also how you're going to max the abilities. So you want to max Q first, then you want to max E, And last, you want to max the W, because it's the one that benefits the least from levels.
Hello everyone, it's Rhoku here, and now we're going to go over some of the combos and the mechanical things you need to know on Darius in order to play him to the optimal level. The most important thing you need to know on Darius mechanically is to know how to cancel his W animation with his Q, like this. I landed an auto attack in there as the combo, but you saw how the W began, and then I pressed Q, and that's how you do the animation cancel, basically. You wait for the animation of the W to start, and then you press Q. And basically, this leads into our massive Darius combo that we need to use often and perfect in lane, which is basically you pull, auto attack, W, and Q. Let's do that one more time, but real quickly. Auto pull, RW, Q. And that combo basically gets you 3 stacks in under a second or so. How you all-in your opponent is basically just you do your combo, and then you pop your ghost, and at this point, you have more move speed than your enemy laner. So you want to just auto-attack, and basically just walk them to their turret until you get to a point where you can just kill them with your ultimate. And just use your abilities as soon as they come off cooldown, you know, walk, auto-attack, walk, and just, you know, kill them around somewhere. Lastly, I'm going to talk about how you need to buffer your R when you want to flash to someone who's out of your range. So basically, this guy's out of my range, I want to ultimate and kill him. I can either do flash R, or I can do R flash. As you can see, R flash is much faster. Now we're going to go into a ranked game I had where I will go over how to play Darius in lane and how he works with some of these combos integrated into his trading patterns. Now, the thing you need to understand as a Darius player is that you are a lane bully. And this basically means that it is your job to generate a kill lead or a CS lead during lane so that you end up as being more powerful than your opposing top laner. Now, this does change in certain matchups like Vayne or Cassiopeia where, you know, it's a counter pick, but generally speaking, if you want to have impact on the map and in the game, you want to be fed. Now, I'm kind of smurfing here, it's only a high diamond, low master tier game, but the points still stand where, like, I'm just trying to get all the CS for myself, while trying to making sure she gets none of the CS, and every time she steps up, I make sure she eats like a full combo, and she just loses HP. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I'm trying to make sure that I'm not going to be ganked by the enemy Diana, so while being aggressive, please try to track the enemy jungler, because Darius is notoriously easy to gank for most junglers. Thanks to me having lane priority, my Kha'Zix can afford to make risky plays in the enemy jungle, because I will be there to help him, and this is no different. Now, I know here that my Kha'Zix is in a bad situation, and the enemy wants to engage on him. With this knowledge, I am ready to punish their mistake. I activate my ghost, I do my combo, and I pick up both of the kills because they probably underestimated me. And there we go. I pick up both kills, and that was all due to the fact that up until that point, I got on my CS, I made sure my Kha'Zix could actually make those plays, and that I was strong enough to actually make that play. Two of the most important things, or skills about playing Darius, are perception and patience. Now, I know that the Riven will Q onto that cannon minion, and because I predicted this, I caught her and killed her. I was perceptive enough to catch her mistake and kill her, and that is what you need to have as a Darius player.